Hi, my name is Aziah McNamara, and I teach writing for the English language program, which is under the Office of International Programs. So our students come from different parts of the world, and in the writing class, they learn how to write essays in English. At the moment, we offer our classes on campus, but I use K-State Canvas and Office 365 products a lot to work with my students. So there's some asynchronous learning happening. I was looking for an app that would allow me to, share interactive class readings, and then also create a digital location for group collaboration, provide feedback for work that they're doing during the developing stages, and compile them all in one location. And last summer, I took the K-State Online Essentials class so that I can learn how to configure my class and address the online aspects. And that sort of helped me rethink my approach on how I use this specific tool with my students, which is OneNote. By the way, Microsoft OneNote, they're not paying me to talk about this. I'm just a user. And Microsoft OneNote here, it's actually, essentially it's a notebook. I use both the online and the desktop version. I use it on the laptop and also on my mobile. Right now I have my notes on my OneNote on my phone. And I train my students to use it throughout the semesters. And so we use this extensively. What's neat about OneNote is that our students can actually access OneNote through K-State Canvas and also through the Outlook waffle here. And they just need to remember their EID and password. And both on Canvas and Outlook, actually OneNote is called Class Notebook. I'm also pretty excited that you can also use OneNote through Microsoft Teams, and that's what I'm also using with my students this semester, except that when you use the class notebook on Teams, you don't want to register you don't want to use the class Microsoft Teams. You actually want to use just a regular one, and what you do is you use the website app, and that's where you would put the class notebook, and that's how you can actually integrate the class notebook from Canvas, because right now Microsoft doesn't seem to have a way of integrating the class notebook from Canvas into Microsoft Teams. So that was one thing that I learned that was pretty helpful. My students are actually now doing their work on OneNote, and I was checking a little bit while people are talking. I'm sorry, I was also still listening, but I was also checking them to make sure that they're doing their work. So during the first week of class, I usually assign a day or two where I do a device check and accessibility check, just to make sure that they all have access to OneNote and they know how to use it on their devices. And so this includes, how they can use how to use the OneNote on their smartphones, and also how to use the OneNote on their laptop. So when we meet in class, they'll bring all those devices, and then I'll just do a device check and just show them how to use it, just to get used to using it. And this is where the all for OneNote is possible, because OneNote has this section called the collaboration space. And in this space here, the students can work simultaneously. So I usually use the collaboration space during the brainstorming stage of writing. And so, this is where we can all work together in this one space. The one downside of OneNote is that it doesn't have the comment or the track changes feature the way you have it on Microsoft Word. So what we do is my students and I would try to create a system of how we can give feedback, get feedback, and then modify, make changes based on the feedback. And we try to keep it very simple. So basically what you see here, the yellow highlights means, we need to work on that a little bit. And if they see a red highlight, it means, that's really bad. So we need to go back and do something, make the changes. Oops. Okay, so we usually spend quite some time during the brainstorming stage, working together. And then after that, the students would, once they've brainstormed all the ideas together, they will look at all the ideas that they've brainstormed and start choosing which of the ideas they want to use in their writing. And so then that's where they move on to work on their own. And this is where, when you add OneNote to the K-State Canvas actually automatically creates the notebook for individual students. And where you can see the blue line, that's actually all my students' name all crossed out. These are their individual notebook, and only the instructor and the student can see this notebook here. And so this is how OneNote can be for all. And so with the brainstorming, they do it as a group, and then eventually they start working on the stuff on their own individually in their own class notebook. This is an example of a student's notebook. So prior to this, I actually created an outline and I distributed to the individual notebook. And so the students will get the outline, they'll fill it out, and as an instructor, I get to see the progress in real time. So in fact, I was mentioning some of them were writing while people were talking, and they were doing their stuff. It's pretty neat to see the progress. So I get to follow their progress very closely. Now, I consider my students emergent multilingual students instead of English language learner because I've noticed that the more they collaborate, the more they exchange ideas, they actually sometimes also exchange languages. And so this is where, they learn other languages as well, but they still use English to sort of negotiate the meaning. And so that's why I think I see them as emergent multilingual learners. And I think it's really beautiful how, the language exchanges happen between the students at K-State, because they come here to learn English, and then they end up also learning about other cultures and other languages. And so, this is why I see them as emergent multilingual learners working together. But for our students, writing is very challenging and it's very daunting because there are so many things that they have to worry about when they're learning to write in a different language and learning a different writing convention. And so there's this fear of not doing it right. There's this fear of not finishing on time. And on top of that, there's also this fear of losing their identity and losing their voices. And when I use OneNote, the fact that I can see them working on stuff in real time, I get to sort of help them work the right way. And I get to help them try to meet the deadline. And at the same time, I am also able to sort of help them find their voices and sort of present their identities through the writing that they're trying to work on as they're developing their ideas. So that's one thing that I found pretty neat in how I can help my students. Now, I don't see OneNote as replacing my role as an instructor, because what I see is that it's a tool that helps me help my students learn, but it's also a tool that helps me learn about my students. And so it also helps me let them see that, if they struggle when they're trying to write, when they're trying to do the writing, going through the writing process, they're not alone, because we start working together when we do the collaboration, and then eventually, they learn when they can actually share and work together, but eventually they also learn how they can also work by themselves. And I help them see that OneNote doesn't do the work for them. It's simply just a tool they can use to better themselves or improve their writing. And it's a tool for learning, for language learning for them. It's pretty much just a piece of technology that helps me leverage teaching and helps them leverage their learning. So that's all for OneNote and OneNote for All, getting emergent multilingual students to write. Thank you.